Some detractors that will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so, business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor.
Sus. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. California love. Bum, 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 bum. Welcome back, AP, right, from sunny California. I had, it was, you know what I was calling it last night with Stephanie? I said it was the worst, best trip of my life. Travel woes were one thing. Whatever you do, avoid American Airlines like the plague if you can. You may think, I'm going to just drive to Columbia because it's 45 minutes away instead of St. Louis. That's 2 hours away, and I'm going to save time. I'll be able to just get on my flight. No, you won't just get on your flight. You'll get rerouted and then delayed and then canceled and then pushed to the next day. And then you'll get a connecting flight, and that connecting flight will be perfectly on time. It's not going to wait for you because your earlier flight was delayed, so you're not, I'm sorry, you're not going to make that flight. The only flight that was on time. I'll just front load all the bad stuff here because we do have a lot of news to catch up on, but we've got some personal things to share about the 4 Liberty Network, things that are going on over here, lots of exciting things. Good news, and just let's get the bad news out of the way. I was so sick in Los Angeles. It's not even funny, and I got it like the bug as soon as I landed, and I swear for the love of God, I almost passed out several times in Los Angeles there to do my job. I'm sitting in the audience, Bill Maher's audience, Real Time with Bill Maher, to watch his show last week, which was pretty good. It had Scott Jennings in it. I don't know if you guys caught Bill Maher last week or if that's even your thing to watch that. I know it's a conservative audience, but I like to watch both sides of the aisle. I did the audience and got a free t-shirt. Woo. But I was so sick that I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm about to have an episode on air. I mean, whatever stomach bug I caught, it was vicious. It was virus. It was trying to kill me. And thankfully it did not survive. But I probably drank a gallon of Pepto-Bismol and made it, though, to the film screening for my new movie, Killing Mary Sue. Got to meet the original Cobra Kai Never Dies, Martin Kove. I don't know if anybody knows Marty Kove from the original Karate Kid movie, but, the villain sensei from the Karate Kid and the Cobra Kai series, if you're into that. He was there and always been an actor that I really admired, and it was great to meet him. He was in the movie, too. I had a small part. He had a bigger part. Of course, he's the star. And then Jason Mewes was not there, unfortunately. Didn't get to meet Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, but he was in the movie, which was fun. And we had a good time, and I made some good connections. And hopefully that's going to help us here at the 4 Liberty Network to build up our motion picture credentials, which we're working on right now at the Battle of Athens. Our shoot being 1 month away from now. Very excited about that. So a lot of personal stuff going on, a lot of professional stuff going on, and of course a lot of news. How was Joe Biden's cancer not caught earlier? The news that the president is battling an aggressive stage 4 prostate cancer that has spread to the bone. And now we're in a public debate about why a person with peerless access to medical care was diagnosed at such an advanced stage with a disease that is quite common in men his age. We'll talk about that this morning. And sad news, I guess even sadder if you're a Joe Biden fan, but it's sad news for those who are big fans of the cartoon comic strip creator Dilbert. Scott Adams, unfortunately, also diagnosed with prostate cancer at the same time. And you know what's funny about this story is when I saw it yesterday, I'm on the flights, I'm checking the news, and I had already heard that Joe Biden had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So when I saw people talking about Scott Adams, they were kind of, saying it took me a while to find out that he had announced that he had prostate cancer, because I'm just searching through the news. A mainstream news article, hadn't been published. It was just people talking on Twitter. But Scott Adams had made the announcement on his show, and I apologize to Scott. I don't watch his whole show. I make a lot of shows, so it's hard for me to keep up with it. Well, you know what? Actually, I've just got the clip. Let's just let Scott talk here for just a moment. I'm a big fan of Scott's.
Some of you have already guessed, so this won't surprise you at all. But I have the same cancer that Joe Biden has. So I also have prostate cancer that has also spread to my bones. But I've had it longer than he's had it. Well, longer than he's admitted having it. So my life expectancy is maybe the summer. I expect to be checking out from this domain sometime this summer. Now,
checking out from this domain. What an interesting way to say it. Very sad. I mean, Scott Adams is very inspiring.
Having watched
person. Hold on. Let's hear from him a little bit more.
Having watched how people treated Joe Biden when the diagnosis came, people are really cruel. They're really bad. And I was expecting, and of course it's going to happen, people are going to say it's because I got the COVID shot. There's no indication that makes a difference. People are going to say it's something I brought on myself. They're going to say it's because I lived a bad life. I don't know. But people are going to be really, really terrible. So I wanted to reduce the number of months or weeks. I don't know what I have left, weeks or months. Wanted to reduce the time that people were being terrible to me online, because it's going to be kind of hard to spend any time online. All of my enemies, in other words, people who are Democrats mostly, are going to come after me pretty hard. So, I have to put up with that. But I'm ready for that. You should know, well, if you didn't already know, I am unusually mentally tough. So while this could be much worse, for some people, I suppose, I'm handling it quite well. The pain is tough. I mean, really tough. But the mental part, I got that under control. And I can see in the comments that some of you are having a tough time with it. But remember, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever.
That's right.
So I hope you don't mind that I hid it from you. I wanted as many normal months as I could get.
Yeah, normal months.
Now, many of you are going to ask me a lot of questions. You're going to say,
"Good for you." Yeah, no, I get it. Trust me. I'm getting the hate every single day. I know absolutely what he's talking about here. It's why when I was sick on my trip out there in Los Angeles, I didn't say anything publicly about it. Right? First off, frankly, it's nobody's business. I mean, I'm talking about it now because I'm feeling better. But I mean, when you're sick, the last thing that you want is to hear people piling on and saying you deserve this and all that kind of stuff. And that's just, if you've ever thought to yourself, oh, I would like to be a streamer. I'd like to do a show like Austin, or I'd like to do what Scott Adams does, or like be like a conservative influencer or an influencer in some respects. It's not all hearts and roses and rumble rants, but hopefully there are some rumble rants.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise.
It's not all can you suck it. You've got to drop in those Rumble Rant donations, guys, if you want to unlock the bonus content, as you well know. For those who don't know, the Wake Up America show produces a 5-minute documentary every single show. You can unlock that mini documentary to watch that instead of commercials. When we have Camelia Peterson join us live, we always go to commercial break before we have our guests. And rather than watch commercials, wouldn't it be more fun to watch a little Lego mini documentary? You can do that by dropping Rumble Rants at rumble.com/AP4Liberty. But one of the most fun ways to unlock bonus content, in my opinion, is to go to 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. And if you do, that will unlock the bonus content and, of course, helps us to make full-length documentaries like we're working on right now. I missed you, baby, too. Nice to see you, Drew. Thank you very much for the donation. Now only $74 need to be raised to unlock the bonus content for today. Hope you guys will help us to monetize the show. Scott Adams, Joe Biden, prostate cancer. Donald Trump tells Walmart don't raise prices, demanding that they not raise prices in response to his tariffs. I don't know why they would have to, because of course China pays the tariffs, right? I mean, you don't have to worry about it, right? We just make China pay the tariff, right? Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I will be watching, and so will your customers, said Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure people are still going to go to Walmart. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear them. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Proposed tax cuts and spending, new spending, will outweigh planned reductions to Medicaid and SNAP. Yeah. Republicans trying to get their big, beautiful fiscal bill through the House this week. It's a complex piece of legislation that includes tax cuts, spending increases, spending reductions, and some tax hikes. In total, it would increase budget deficits, by nearly $3 trillion over a decade. They're talking about doing, in this bill, extension of tax cuts, child tax credits, a cap on the salt deduction. Austin, what's the salt deduction? That's where they take out the salt. Repeal EV credits and EVs, electric vehicle stuff. The only people who say EVs, I feel like, live inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. Do people in Jefferson City say EVs? Does anybody you know here in Missouri that are watching this show, locals, Amy J. E's, are you here? What's up, Amy J. Southcott, Dad Bod Baboon. Does anybody use the word EV to describe electric vehicle? I when we were in DC a few weeks ago, I feel like I heard the word somebody say EV, but I've never heard somebody say EV since. Looks like the quality of the stream is kind of low today. Yeah, the internet's kind of slow, but guess what? They finally laid the cable. The fiber internet is like, it's so close, yet it's so far. Over the weekend, they sent the guys to dig and lay the line. So they've laid the line, but they haven't like brought the line to our house yet. So we're just like slavering away. We're like 3 days or something like that or so away from having that fiber internet connected to our house, in which case we will be streaming in full broadband, high definition. Not 4K. That's too much. It's too much. It's too sexy. You guys don't want to see me in full 4K glory. I guarantee that. But the fiber internet will be here very soon, so you guys can have beautiful high definition and not have fewer slowdowns, and videos of clips will play, and everybody will live like puppies and rainbows and happiness and all of that. The biggest story, though, in my opinion, not the tariffs, not the tax bill, but the question of how did Joe Biden's cancer not get caught earlier, right? You can, to attack Democrats for this cover up is not to attack Joe Biden for having cancer. It is interesting in terms of poetic irony that we have, Joe Biden having prostate cancer, so many people coming out and saying terrible things about Joe Biden after that, saying, oh, I'm glad he has it, he deserves it. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I haven't had time to process it. All I've had the time to do is like be sick and hang out with movie stars. But Austin, screw you. You're not a man of the people, Austin. Well, I never claimed to be. We'll offer prayer. You can offer prayers for Joe Biden, but still view the cancer news in the context of the preceding years of lies about the then president's health. The announcement puzzles doctors left and right who don't get how it could possibly come as a surprise, writes the New York Post, when any halfway competent medical doctor would have caught this years ago. Yeah. Joe's a private citizen now with no duty to keep the public informed on these things, but his family decided to announce his dire condition 2 days after the Robert Hur tapes finally leaked. If you remember, Robert Hur was the man who interviewed Joe Biden about his mental health to find out whether or not he was in good enough health to have willingly or purposefully hidden classified documents at his house. So the question of of the timing of all these things is also sus as well. And speaking of things being sus, did anybody see that Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, and Dan Bongino, the co-director of the FBI or deputy director of the FBI, came out and said that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself? Really? Because I'm pretty sure that they were saying that they think he didn't kill himself. And so now here's the thing. I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I have the high external locus of control. If I'm going to make a problem, it's going to be a type 2 problem. If I'm going to make an error, it's going to be a type 2 error, not a type 1 error. Type 1 error, right, is the one where it's every time you hear a rustle in the grass, you're like, oh my God, it's a tiger. It's going to kill us all, right? That's a type 1 error. And there's no tiger. It's just a rustle in the grass. A type 2 error is the type that I would be more likely to make. A type 2 error is there's a rustle in the grass. It's probably the wind. And 0.6% of the time, it's an actual tiger and I'm going to get eaten, okay? So skeptics and conspiracy theorists, we could both make mistakes. I did that thing where the back of my heel hit the chair and knocked me down. So conspiracy theorists, they make mistakes. But on the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, I'm a conspiracy theorist. And when I say theorist, it's a difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theorist. Joe Biden, if they knew that Joe Biden had cancer in the office, which I suspect they did. Right now, that's a conspiracy theory, but I believe it's a conspiracy. And conspiracy facts, of course, are not the same thing as conspiracy theories. If you have evidence of a conspiracy and can prove it, right, in a criminal court of law, then, you know, which is fascinating phenomenon here with Judge Napolitano, who will be joining us here tomorrow, is that he's like a big conspiracy theorist, but he also thinks that like conspiracies themselves are not against the law, which I find to be fascinating. You'll find the judge all over the place on that issue. It's a nuanced take he has. And, you know, I'll ask him about that tomorrow in terms of if he has any conspiracy theories about the Joe Biden prostate, right? Question. So, but the timing is sus. The mysterious death of Jeffrey Epstein is sus. And now we have to ask ourselves, well, if Kash Patel and Dan Bongino say it, then do we believe it? Juanita Broderick, she came out and said that she says if Kash Patel and Dan Bongino say it, I believe it. Right? What about you? Do you, now that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have said that they don't think that Jeffrey Epstein did kill himself, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. Thank you to BB for Liberty for the Rumble rant. Only $71 left to go to unlock the bonus content. We appreciate that. Cecilia, thanks for going and visiting our props for us and checking that out. We appreciate that. Cecilia helping us out with the documentary. So Joe Biden's cancer. You know, he's 82 years old, right? The question is, had he been getting these regular prostate exams? You know, prostate cancer screening for men in their 80s isn't considered standard care. You have to think about it, right? So once you hit your 80s, they actually stop screening you for prostate cancer because they figure even if they do find prostate cancer, that if they were to treat you for prostate cancer, that they would actually shorten your life by that standards, because prostate cancer is one of the slower growing types of cancers that occur. And so they figure that if you're in your 80s anyway, that you probably don't have much time left. And if you don't have that much time left, then even if they do find prostate cancer, the aggressive, you know, treatments that they would have to try and stop it would be the kind of thing that would shorten the you know, if it wouldn't actually shorten the quality of your life, it would certainly, you know, there's a possibility that it could kill you as well. And a lot of people, I'll say, you know, I don't know if in my 80s if I had discovered that I had prostate cancer, if I would want aggressive treatment? That's probably a good question. I wonder, for all the men out there and for all of the trans men out there, I guess you might say, or I guess trans women, which means that they're biological men. Yes, I did see the tweet that somebody made to the male lawmaker, the biological male lawmaker who is a trans female. I did say that I see the joke that somebody posted, which was in response to them talking about getting your prostate cancer or getting your prostate screenings. Ha ha. The trans person has a prostate. I get the joke. I'm sure people really laughed and loved it and thought it was funny. It's the obvious joke, though, we all have to admit. But I don't think I would want it either. I really don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, how can we not look at Scott Adams and we're saying to ourselves, I mean, God, he's beloved on the right. And a lot of people are saying, they don't know what they're going to do without him. He's given them so much insight. I enjoy Scott Adams' commentary. I will say that I always read his comic, but I never watched his show. I would sometimes see clips. He would be embroiled in controversy, so I'd watch a clip of his. There's so much content out there, you can't consume all of it. I'm lucky and thankful that we've got 100 people watching the Wake Up America show live, and then 100, 200, 300 people or so. How many people download it afterwards? And you're lucky to have that audience. People's time is very, very divided. But I really don't know if I would want to do it. I really don't know. I'm not sure that I would say if I was in my 80s that I would. I'm not sure that if I was in my 80s I would want to get prostate cancer screening. But that isn't really the point in this story. The point is the conspiracy. The conspiracy was in the cover-up. Does anybody remember this?
And mentally, do you think to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
He is engaging. He is capable. He has an incredible record as president.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game.
So he has a vision. He has knowledge. He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issue.
And you're going to see how smart he is and the experience he has.
I say his age is an asset.
Aha!
He's wise.
Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience.
And his experience, because of his age and his wisdom, has been invaluable to this country.
A lot of countries, people who've been in office a longer period of time are praised for their wisdom.
I have seen a lot of 72-year-olds not as capable as this 80-year-old.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. He's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity is defined is wrong.
And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in.
Yeah. Really? Well, really fooled. No. This doesn't matter. We need to be focused on anything else other than this. It's not what's important. We need to be looking at, something completely different. A lot of people think that this story about Joe Biden's cancer is actually a cover for the real story, which is how obvious it was that he was in a bad mental state. I believe that he was probably receiving cancer treatment at the time. For any of us who have seen what brain fog looks like after someone has gone through chemotherapy treatments, I can tell you that it looks and sounds a lot like the status of Joe Biden while he was still in office. Well, of course, it comes out that the tape that that was recorded when Joe Biden was being interviewed by Special Prosecutor Robert Hur during the whole crisis of did Joe Biden knowingly remove classified documents to his private home interview, and that audio leaked just like a few days ago.
Living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer booster shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. Not a mean thing to say. I mean, he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. If I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, what month did Bo die? May 30th.
What month did May?
Was it 2015 he died?
Yeah, so there it is. He's being asked about when his son Bo died, and he needed help to remember that.
When did Bo die? May 30th, 2018. Was it 2015 he died?
Yeah, so he's got someone there who's a handler who's filling him in on important dates. And this is going on while he's president of the United States. And honestly, I think it's a perfectly legitimate question for Donald Trump to potentially investigate something like this. This is, in my opinion, this is the biggest scandal since it happened last time. And the last time that something like this happened, where the president was fully incapacitated in the White House, was Woodrow Wilson, where his wife, Edith Wilson, was protecting him from the public. It was a lot easier back then to protect a president from the public. But something similar happened. Now, was he in a coma, Joe Biden? No, might as well have been. But that puts the United States in danger to have a president who is so incapable. This is why we have the 25th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It's there to protect us from presidents who may be too incapacitated to be able to do their jobs. What are your thoughts on this? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. This is Joe Biden after the debate, if you'll all remember.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Okay, well, that's a great place to start. As good a place as any. As good a place as any. Let's remember this.
First of all, people were put to shame, me and others out there that talked about Joe Biden's mental acuity. We were told he was sharp as a tack, he had a photographic memory, he was intense and brilliant. And what's amazing is the sources of this book were the same sources that told us that we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. It's a stutter. Stop talking about him.
He's talking about Jake Tapper in his book analyzing the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline in the White House.
The fact is they were managing his decline in a nursing home in the White House. First of all, people were put to shame.
Yeah. Oh, we all were. Absolutely. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. Donald Trump weighed in on the question as well.
To everybody, but it's given just about. And it takes a long time to get to that situation. Now, I think, to get to a stage 9, I think that if you take a look, it's the same doctor that said that.
Did he say stage 9? Is there a stage 9? Did I know? Listen, I'm not a doctor. Amy in the chat, let us know.
Joe was cognitively fine. There was nothing wrong with him. Well, he said, if it's the same doctor, he said there was nothing wrong there. And that's being proven to be a sad situation. And the auto pen is becoming a very big deal. The auto pen is becoming a big deal because it seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the auto pen. But when they say that that was not good, they also, you have to look and you have to say that the test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed. And I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor, if it's the same, or even if it's two separate doctors. Why wasn't the cognitive ability, why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, and it's turned out given to everybody, but it's given just about. And it takes.
Yeah, well, it is a huge scandal. It needs to be investigated. It probably won't. And apparently Jeffrey Epstein did in fact kill himself.
Just not kidding. We've been personally briefed extensively on every single detail, nugget, tendril of this case. One is actively in court right now, so out of respect for the case, it's probably more appropriate that I stay quiet on that. However, I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth, and whether you like it or not is up to you. If there was a big explosive there, right? Given my history as a Secret Service agent and my personal friendship as a director does with the president, give me one logical, sensible reason we would not have. If you can think of one, there isn't. In some of these cases, the there you're looking for is not there. And I know people, I get it. I understand. It's not there.
They're talking about conspiracies involving the attempted assassination of President Trump.
Are we going to be surprised at what you learned?
You know what, Maria? Cash is not kidding. We've been personally briefed extensively on every single.
Something is sus. I mean, listen, again, you know me. I'm not a big conspiracy guy. And I like Dan Bongino and I like Kash Patel. But, if you can think of a logical reason, what are we saying here in terms of assassinating president? Do I believe that it's possible that it was, these are both lone gunmen trying to assassinate the president of the United States? Is it possible? Sure. Is it more likely than, a vast criminal conspiracy? Sure. Do I still think that there's a chance that there was a conspiracy in attempting to assassinate President Trump? Yeah, I still think there's a chance. Even if Cash and Dan say there isn't. But again, Dan's body language is off in that clip, says Nathan. Exactly. We all know Dan Bongino, right? I know we got a lot of big Dan Bongino fans here. The Relaxium McGroin. Where's the McGroins? They're going to say, oh, well, you should definitely trust us and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, I think it's wise and important and healthy for us as conservatives and libertarians and right wingers to remain skeptical of people who are in power, even if they are on our team. Is that okay? But the idea that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, that was another kind of sus moment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and more. We haven't unlocked the bonus content yet, guys. Let's do it. Let's unlock the bonus content. Drop some Rumble rants. Drop some Rumble rants in the show. Help support the Wake Up America show financially by contributing a Rumble rant donation while we're live. If we hit $75 raised, then that will unlock our bonus content today. The best way to unlock the bonus content, in my opinion, though, is go to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. Then if you go to forlibertyshop.com, you can get some incredible Gulf of America merchandise. We've also got some incredible swimwear for those who are big fans of the American flag and wouldn't want to be told to be putting that away. I dare them, if you wear the American flag shorts from our shop, to go to the Smithsonian and have them tell you to take those off and put them away, because sign me up, baby. So go to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com, guys. Unlock the bonus content. Get yourself some Gulf of America merch, maybe a beautiful box of our delicious Founding Flavors coffee. And if you go to forlibertyshop.com, you'll see we have coffees, we have teas, we have so much more. Let us know what you guys think. If you have bought products from us before, don't forget to leave a nice 5-star review.
A year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but I know who they are. It says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%. So, question. Does Dan Bongino still believe that Epstein may have been used, that the Epstein tapes may have been used for blackmailing foreign adversaries? Because that is in itself an entirely separate question from whether or not Epstein killed himself. And so the question I guess I might have is, how can you, there's so many angles to this story and so many things that don't add up. And there's been such a 180 between what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were saying before the election to where we are now. Thank you to Real Science Questions for your donation. We now need $69 to unlock the bonus content for today.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well,
yeah, you said that he committed suicide.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. Oh. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
And you've seen the whole file. Sus. All right, guys, I need to hear your conspiracy theories on this one, because my conspiracy theory is that they are using it for blackmail, like Dan Bongino was saying on Timcast, that clip that I was playing earlier. I think that they probably need the videos for blackmail of people who are in intelligence agencies. And I'm guessing that once they got in there, they were just told, no, I'm sorry, we can't release this stuff because we're using it to blackmail the prime minister of Turkestan or whatever. We're using it to blackmail this person. It's too important to national security. So we have to cover this up and we have to protect our sources here.
Here's Donald Trump with Friedman yesterday on the Epstein client list. This is really important. So much so, we open in the segment with it on the second segment of the show. Check this out.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Good. Folks, you're going to see a lot of names on that. The Epstein client list, I believe, based on what I've heard from sources and the story I just told you, basically, is going to rock the political world. There's a reason they're hiding it.
Sus. So sus. It's the sussiest sus that ever sussed. The sussiest sus.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe you, Dan. He killed himself. See, that's how I speak whenever it's like, you know, your mom's like, did you have your hand in the cookie jar, Augie P? AP, did you have your hand in the cookie jar? Did you do this, Austin? Was this you? Is this your handiwork? And I got like, you know, blueberry pie all over my... Did you eat the blueberry pie, Austin? And I'm like, now listen to this again and think, the question is, somebody's asking Dan Bongino, did you eat all of the blueberry pie?
You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get... I've seen
got the blueberry pie all over my face.
You...
Did you eat the blueberry pie, Dan Bongino? I didn't eat the blueberry pie. Amy J.E. says that she's bummed she has a work meeting at 8. Aw, sad. Aww. It is a fun show today with Cecilia, Liberty Tonight, Real Science Questions, C. Songaroth, and all of our friends like L-Dubs, Nathan, Quest Fanning, Dad Bod Baboon, and Joni Rankin and others over on our live show this morning. Good morning, guys. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us here live today. We appreciate you. We are well on the way to unlock the bonus content today. All we've got to do is raise $69. Nice. To unlock the bonus content, so do drop those Rumble rants early and often. We've been discussing this morning the question of how many people knew that Joe Biden had prostate cancer. Is this a diagnosis that was just made this week? How can you have all of these screenings, blood tests, for example, and not have screened for prostate cancer? What they say, oh, well, when you're 80 years old, they stop screening you. Okay, that's fine, but that was 2 years ago. He would have still been in the White House. He would have still had to have medical checks before he became president of the United States while he's campaigning in 2020. And then 2021, 2022, 2023 even. He didn't get cancer screenings then, right? He's 82 now, right? So then 81 a year and then 80 and what? So 79, 78, 77. He's not getting cancer screenings, running for president of the United States, especially during COVID-19 with extra precautions. I mean, unbelievable medical care that the president of the United States receives and his prostate cancer spreads all the way to the bone, a very slow growing cancer. Oh, prostate cancer tends to grow very slow. And they don't pick up on it, and we're supposed to believe it. I'll believe that like I believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
Courage and resilience that he's consistently shown. Seems to me entirely inappropriate that at this moment in time, when President Biden is dealing with a serious and aggressive form of cancer, there are Republicans who are peddling conspiracy theories and want us to look backward at a time when they actually are taking health care away from the American people. No, as House Democrats, we're going to look forward. They literally are trying to take health care away from millions of Americans at this very moment in the dead of night. And Republicans want to fan the flames of conspiracy theories at this moment? Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, well, that's the Democrats' response there. If they're saying things like that, then you have to know that that's where they don't want you to look. That is where they don't want you paying attention.
Russian misinformation to Donald Trump.
Remember this?
And feeding Russian disinformation to the New York Post. They know it's a lie.
Yeah, well,
that's where we are in 2020.
It's the New York Post.
Just to let you know that they're still talking to Russians. And by the way, Russian hoax, come on. Really, seriously, history will expose you all as fools and useful idiots for the Russians.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second, and I've known him for years.
As these cheap fakes continue to circulate, there is growing concern that attempts to fact check them may not be able to keep up. As one Democratic strategist puts it, quote, "The lie is sprinting the 100-meter dash and the fact check is taking a stroll on the beach." Sean Hannity doing an entire segment on that scene with the paratroopers. That's a show that has a great deal of influence. You don't think it matters? I think it matters.
That's what they do.
They have a lot of power
that's what they do.
And a lot of influence, and they don't use responsible judgment or facts or news. Their goals there are different. The goals there are not to share news with people.
History will expose you all as fools and useful idiots.
Guess what? We got Camilla Peterson coming up next. She's going to talk to us a little bit about Joe Biden's prostate cancer. His prostate cancer. Being prostate is very cancerous. We're going to talk to Camilla Peterson about that. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. The Wake Up America show is live. Don't go away. Go to forlibertyshop.com. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
CBS News had a brief conversation with Frank Biden, one of President Biden's two younger brothers, and here's what he told us. He said, "I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left. He is a genuine hero. country over self. It sounds corny in our cynical political environment, but he nor I are cynical. The goal remains the same: defeat Trump and continue the work that Joe has done. My hope is that our party rallies around this heroic act. We asked him whether he feels that his brother's overall health and vitality played a major role in this decision, and he says, in my humble opinion, absolutely. So a member of the president's family now confirming that the president's health was indeed a major factor in this decision, and calling his brother a hero for making the decision to pass the torch to Kamala Harris.
Oh, they knew. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson, and we are back from Los Angelinos. The city I live in, city of angels. Actually, honestly, I'll tell you, I'm glad I don't live in the city of angels. I was there. That city is filthy, man. It is dirty. Homeless people everywhere. Very expensive. You want to get a pizza, it's $40. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We're talking about Joe Biden this morning, and sadly, Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert, also with a prostate cancer announcement. Joining us now to discuss is someone who doesn't know anything really about prostates, but she's a good friend of the show anyway. Camelia Peterson joining us live here on the Wake Up America show with a beautiful crocheted sweater that was made for her by her lovely daughter Felicity. Very pretty.
Yes. So anybody who's ever seen me post pictures of political events or has gone to any of the things I've gone to will almost always see Felicity with me, and she's crocheting her way through everything.
And all she has to do is wait for a politician to give one speech to be able to, that sweater is took about the same amount of time as one politician's speech. Yes.
Probably, yes.
Camelia, your take on Joe Biden's announcement, the announcement that he's suffering from prostate cancer.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, it's always obviously tragic anytime somebody has to deal with something like that. But second of all, I mean, this is something that is common to many people. So yes, it's a terrible thing. I think everybody would wish him well, I hope. However, that said, I think it's undeniable that we all know what we knew for sure now, for many years now, and it's confirmation. And I think it's tragic on several levels. I don't think it's just tragic that he has cancer now. I think that what they did to him, we talked about this before, like it's literally elder abuse, and what they did to him the last several years, I think is the true tragedy. He could have been getting treatment and recovering at home and maybe had a really good shot at beating this because it is a treatable cancer. But yet you're going to be in this high stress, high pressure job. And, who knows what all factors were at play here. Like, I think that we've kind of determined that Jill Biden is the devil. But I just, but I don't know, like, were there people who were pressuring her? Was there things that they were leveraging? Because you have Hunter Biden in the mix and all of his things that he had going on the side that were illegal. So who knows, the perfect storm of things that contributed to this deception by the entire family for probably just about his entire presidency. So, I think it's terrible. And it does, like, I know you have raised it before, it raises a lot of questions about what we require in terms of, presidential fitness and the physicians who give us those reports. And does it need to be, maybe do we need to have independent examinations by somebody who's not, a White House physician, but then can we really do that? It's like a whole can of worms. And it's crazy.
My thing is that I think that if there is a minimum age for there to be a president of the United States, and there are many good reasons for it, I think there absolutely should be a maximum age.
Absolutely.
To be able to run for president of the United States. If somebody is 102 years old, perhaps it's unwise that they be able to say the libertarians. You should be like a million years. It should be whatever the voters vote on. No, it shouldn't. No, we're not a democracy for a reason.
I saw the funniest thing the other day, and I have no idea how old Mike Pence is. I didn't bother to look it up, but there was a headline that says, Mike Pence has confirmed that he is not running for president.
Well, Mike Pence is...
Was that even a question? I don't know.
Well, I mean, Mike Pence is 65 years old, so I would say...
Well, okay.
What age do you think it should be, by the way, if we were going to do a cutoff age? What do you say, 75, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's got to be the top end because you think about how old they are when they leave office, right?
Yes. So 75 in terms of like running for office, signing the dotted line, can run for president, I think from 35 years old to 75 years old. Now, I announced my run. I was campaigning while I was 34, but I would have been 35 when I took the oath of office, which would have made me constitutionally eligible. So there was that.
It's close.
It was very close, very close. But do you believe that they didn't know that Joe Biden had cancer, Camelia? Do you believe in your heart?
No, it was, so you've seen that clip that's being played where he was giving that speech, and at the time everybody just chalked it up to, kind of this a usual slip in his incoherence where he said, I and a lot of my friends who have cancer, right? I mean, and this was 3 years ago. So do I maybe that wasn't a slip, right? I mean, I think there's a very good chance it wasn't a slip. It was probably at the top of his mind because maybe he had just gotten the diagnosis. Pure speculation here, but I'm just saying this is kind of how people's brains work with recency. And so they absolutely knew. There was no way they couldn't have known it. And honestly, when you've got Jake Tapper writing a book and going around touting it, like, just infuriating that they knew and chose to cover it up and call themselves journalists and try to justify it as that they were looking out for the people and whatever else they went, like, just no.
Well, just think about it too. If you're Jake Tapper, I mean, a brilliant move by Tapper to come out with a book on this subject right away to cover your ass.
Hey, look at that capitalism, right? That's going to sell. That's going to sell books.
Yeah, of course. Right. But he's smart enough to know that right now is the important time to be rewriting the history books, to rewrite the history of what they were all telling us, because they were all rolling their eyes at us. He's sick, he's elderly. I have seen, I don't know if you've had someone in your family who had cancer or chemotherapy, but I've seen up close what happens after someone is in a conspiracy theory, is in a chemotherapy treatment. Afterwards, they get brain fog, and it looks very much like what Joe Biden had. And we were being lambasted and called conspiracy theorists because what we could see with our own eyes. I mean, talk about not trusting the experts. I mean, how many doctors were like, "Oh, the president's fine," and now it's like, should we even trust the president's doctors? Like the person who's doing the health test? I liked your point earlier. You were talking about like maybe there needs to be like an independent third party that does the presidential health test, because all it is just this family doctor that, and they say, oh, he's fine, he's healthy. He definitely doesn't have stage 4 prostate cancer that's spread to his bones and things like that. I mean, what kind of process like that what would it even look like, Camelia?
I don't know. I'm over here thinking, well, maybe AI can play a role in this, right? maybe if you feed all of his symptoms, because have you seen all of the stories about the people who are like, I plugged all of my symptoms into ChatGPT or whatever, Grok, and it like spit out a diagnosis. I took it to my doctor because my doctor hadn't caught this for a long time, didn't know what it was, and like AI knew something that the doctor didn't. So maybe we need to just start, plugging all of that stuff into ChatGPT. But I don't know, when they want to cover something up, in a position that powerful, I guess, what are you going to do? I don't know that there's any, foolproof way to hold them accountable and make sure that they're not paying someone off or whatever it takes. I mean, do you think our current president would do the same thing?
No, I mean, I don't think they would either. I think they all have an incentive, obviously, to hide it from us. But in a sense that Joe Biden was incapable, who was signing the documents, right? Who was signing the executive orders? Who was signing the bills, the legislation? Like who was doing that? And if that's a legitimate question. If the president wasn't doing it, who was doing it?
What was the meeting where everybody was in an uproar because it looked like Jill Biden was running it? It was, oh gosh, what was that? There was at one point during the presidency where there was like a high level cabinet meeting, and Jill Biden was basically calling the shots in the meeting, and everybody was all upset about that. And well, maybe this is why.
And what's an auto pen? And does it void Joe Biden's pardons? So NPR reporting, this is on the 17th, and I don't think we had the prostate news yet. Here's what the NPR said. They said Trump tries to void Biden's pardons, blaming AutoPen. Many presidents have used it. So President Trump is claiming without evidence, says NPR, that some of Joe Biden's actions are invalid because he allegedly used a machine to automate signatures on documents, which is a longstanding practice in the White House. Yeah, but the problem is that the president's still supposed to be the one using the auto pen. He's still supposed to be the one doing it.
You have to be of sound mind in order to make those decisions. And so I think that, with everything that's increasingly coming out, that is a big question. So I guess the big question is can they undo those pardons once they're done?
Well, they say, Biden's are like pardons are absolute. A president's pardon power is absolute. But if it wasn't the president of the United States that actually issued the pardon, if he wasn't of sound mind, then yeah, I think that that Anthony Fauci's pardon absolutely may deserve another round of scrutiny, at least a lawsuit, in my opinion. But I'd love to hear what our listeners think. Send us a text at 573-319-1586. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Camelia Peterson. She joins us Tuesdays and Thursdays here on the Wake Up America show. And if you're enjoying Camelia, make sure you join us for her regular time slot, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. Camelia is a fellow Missourian, a liberty lover, works for Americans for Prosperity. And I was told that we might be getting an income tax abolition here in the state of Missouri. Kel status. We're at the end of the session, and yet I see no headlines about my income tax being abolished. Camelia, what's the story?
I can tell you we're still working on it. So I think it's going to have to go on the ballot. And so that can't happen until 2026 anyway. So here's the thing. I think sometimes in the making the sausage and getting things done, there is some strategy that comes into play. So I will say, I think there's some good reasons for this. Some good things happened. Some really good things happened in the Missouri legislature this year. We actually got a ton done. I mentioned before, capital gains tax elimination, like some other good things, lemonade stand bill, protecting youth entrepreneurs. That said, there were a couple of really big things that got done in the last week, including the repealing the mandated sick leave that had passed at the ballot because, when you let democracy and you let voters decide, they can be fooled and they do things that are really bad for us sometimes. I know that's unpopular to say, but it's truth. And then also there was an abortion initiative issue that was going on. So there were two really big things that had to be taken care of. And if either of those had been pushed to next year, they would have overshadowed the effort to get the income tax elimination done. So the good news is that is the major priority that the governor has left, that he has listed as his top 3 or 4 things that will now be on the table for the next session to be the focus. And I expect to get it passed. What that ends up looking like as far as like how gradual it is or not remains to be seen. But yeah, it's still totally, we're in the process.
Yeah, well, that's good. But if you need somebody in the future to sit down and get screamed at for a recording Democrat, then you know who to call. That's me.
Well, here's the thing, there will be more opportunities. And so I will be calling because, having it refiled again this next year means that we'll have more hearings. So.
All right. Yes, that hearing was great. I hear that I triggered some Republicans as well as the Democrats when I showed up
to shake things up a little.
You got to shake things up a little bit. And we appreciate the opportunity there. Camelia works to limit government on the state level here in the state of Missouri. Here in Missouri, we have Americans for Prosperity working to try and apply the principles of liberty to our state governments as much as we work to apply them on the federal level as well. So, Camelia, what are some of the big wins, would you say, from Jefferson City this year? Because we're talking about things like Royals and Chiefs stadiums getting more money from taxpayers, and if that is achieved, will they be giving us any free tickets to the games?
Yeah, well, some people probably don't want. Depends on who you like, right? There may be some people who don't want Royals tickets, but it's probably another story.
I'll take them.
Yeah. I mean, so that this is remains to be seen because it was filibustered in the Senate for 7 hours last week and it got shut down. And so now the question is will the governor call a special session in order to try to make this go again? And I think the answer is that yes, he will try to call a special session, but I don't think he will unless he feels certain that the Senate will. I mean, the House passed it no problem. That was really disappointing by the margin that it passed, but if the Senate comes to a deal and they will agree to pass it, I think that's the only way we have a special session. But this is, I don't know. There's the argument that, okay, the Royals and the Chiefs are going to move. The only place they're moving if they move to the Kansas side is across the river. And so the people who are working for them right now, when you talk about jobs, are still going to be working for them if they move across the river. There's a lot of this. It's a calculation of whether or not you call their bluff. And, is Kansas really going to offer them more than Missouri? And I think this is a factor in here, right? This Kansas-Missouri rivalry. So I don't know. We will see, but I'd say it's still iffy. And I think the only way that it's going to go is if there is a deal made for something that conservatives want, that they think is more important or that is worth the trade-off. And there is something that I think that is possible they will give on, but I'll hold off on that until we kind of see a little more. But other than that, especially on the last day, we had some big priority things get across the finish line. And one of those was judicial non-deference, when we talked about the Chevron case that got overturned. So that passed on that very last day of session, along with the lemonade stand bill that passed. And so there's, and also, expanding healthcare. So we had some really good things that passed along with everything else that was done during session with capital gains tax elimination and, a few other things. So we're making progress. I know that it is frustrating sometimes because you have to look for the good and you don't unring the bell in a day. And so you have to claw back, liberty bit by bit by bit. And and huge, like I mentioned last week, huge one for education. So, the thing is when we look now, we're kind of in mode of looking who's running for office that's going to fit these requirements to get those kind of priorities across the finish line. And we have people who are opposed to school choice on our own side. It's been really frustrating. Yeah. And that seems to be spreading some. And this has become a really hard line. If you're running for office and you're quibbling at all on the school choice issue, you do not get my support, and I will publicly oppose you in every way possible, because to me, that is a last stand for liberty kind of issue.
Camelia Peterson, anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we let you go today, my lovely friend?
No, I hope everybody has a great day, and thinking about all of our friends in St. Louis. That, by the way, and there's lots of people who suffered from the tornadoes in St. Louis, and I will point out there's an organization who does great work and has done great work in the state of Missouri on the politics level, kind of on the nonprofit side, the Show Me Institute. Their building in St. Louis, I think, is a total loss. So they got hit in all of that too. So lots of people affected. The city seems to be pulling together. They have a new mayor, so she's getting tested right off the bat. So anyway, thinking about you guys.
Thank you, Camelia. We appreciate you very much. We'll see you on Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time. Camelia Peterson. Follow her on X at Rare Camelia. She's a very rare Camelia. Take care, CJ.
You are back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife. So I don't know how we ended up here. It never occurred to me that it was any kind of controversial thing, but that's the time we live in.
So take me back to the walk on the beach.
We were walking on the beach. We went to the beach to prepare for this week, which was the launch of my book, and to think about the book and to prepare to answer questions about it. And we were walking back towards the road, and we saw in the sand someone had arranged shells with numbers. And Patrice, my wife, said, "Why would someone put an address in the sand?" And I said, "I don't know." And we stood over it, and I said, "I think it's some kind of political message." And she said, 86, when I was a server, she did a lot of work in restaurants, meant to remove an item from the menu when you ran out of ingredients. And I said, well, to me, as a kid, it always meant to leave a place, to ditch a place. I said, that's really clever. So then she said, you should take a picture of that. And I did. And I posted it on my Instagram account and thought nothing more of it until I heard through her that people were saying it was some sort of a call for assassination, which is crazy. But I took it down. Even if I think it's crazy, I don't want to be associated with violence of it.
Sure. Dun, 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 dun. We've unlocked the bonus. Oh, goodness. There it is. We've unlocked the bonus content. Camelia's not here anymore, guys. Thank you so much for all your financial support. We appreciate it. When we unlock that bonus content, it means that the Wake Up America show will still be on tomorrow. We'll be back after the bonus content break. Enjoy the mini documentary. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
downgrade, another shrug. Last week, Moody's downgraded America's credit outlook, again, citing our unsustainable, ballooning, utterly embarrassing national debt. And how did our leaders in Washington respond? With all the urgency of a teenager ignoring their bank app. Finger pointing? Check. Half-hearted outrage? Check. Meaningful action? Don't hold your breath. Let's start with the Republicans, because boy, have they earned it. These are the same people who used to pound podiums over the debt. You remember the speeches. We're bankrupting our grandchildren. We need fiscal responsibility. We have a moral duty to balance the budget. I mean, they practically had the words founding fathers and free markets tattooed on their tongues. But once they had power, they spent like drunk lobbyists at a Pentagon open bar. Trillions in new spending. Defense budgets on steroids. Corporate subsidies dressed up as patriotism. And don't forget the stimulus checks, a bipartisan money cannon blasted into the void. When it was time to act like the adults in the room, the so-called fiscal conservatives were too busy posing for social media and fundraising off the culture war to notice the national debt hit $34 trillion. And Democrats? They've been gleefully writing checks with slogans like equity and climate justice scribbled in the memo line. Their solution to every problem is to spend more and act shocked when the money's gone. They're not even pretending anymore. It's modern monetary theory cosplay at this point. But let's not pretend this is just another partisan failure. This is a systemic rot. A uniparty consensus to kick the can until the can explodes. And while both sides keep lighting matches in the fireworks factory, there's one tiny department that's actually trying to put out the fire, and no one's listening. DOGE has uncovered hundreds of millions in government waste, fraudulent unemployment claims, benefits sent to dead people, fake addresses, payments to literal infants, babies getting checks. And what happens when they report it? Congress yawns. No hearings, no votes, no media circus, no accountability. The swamp just pretends it didn't happen, because actually doing something about waste means going after their own pet programs, their donors, their voter bribes, and that would require integrity, which is in short supply on Capitol Hill. Think about it. We have a debt so large, it's now a national security threat, and the one department tasked with cleaning up the mess is treated like a footnote. Meanwhile, we've got bureaucrats getting bonuses, agencies spending six figures on equity consultants, and Congress voting to send billions overseas while pretending we can't figure out what's draining the Treasury. And Moody's downgrade? It's not the end. It's the warning shot. The interest on our debt is now higher than our defense budget, and soon it'll surpass everything: Social Security, Medicare, you name it. We're not talking about a hypothetical collapse in 2080. We're talking about a debt bomb with a lit fuse that's already hissing. And the worst part? The American people are footing the bill, not just in dollars, but in opportunity. Every borrowed trillion means higher prices, lower wages, and more power handed to unelected bureaucrats and foreign creditors. It means fewer dreams realized, fewer businesses launched, fewer families able to plan for the future. We're taxing the unborn to fund a government that can't even read its own balance sheet. All while the people who caused this crisis go on TV to yell at each other and sell t-shirts. Speaking of which, if you actually want to wear something that doesn't insult your intelligence, head to forlibertyshop.com. We've got gear that says what you're thinking, that liberty isn't free, and neither is pretending $34 trillion in debt isn't a problem. Shirts, mugs, hats, all designed for people who know the real fight isn't left versus right. It's the people versus the parasites. So if you're tired of watching DC spend your future and laugh about it, go grab something that makes a statement. Because they may be bankrupting the country, but you can still stand for what's right and look good doing it. That's forlibertyshop.com, the only place in America where the price tag isn't a lie. See you next time.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Some detractors that will push back on me and say, you know, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? This is how we are. And so business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief operations officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business.
I thought it was about the content of our character, not the color of our skin. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Click the like button if you haven't already. That was the mayor of Chicago talking about why he hires so many blacks to run Chicago. And he says it's because they're planet Earth's most generous race. Well, if they were all like Adam Coleman, I would have to say that might actually be true. My next guests author and publisher, Adam Coleman. His new book, The Children We Left Behind, is available for ordering now. He's joining us live here on the Wake Up America show. Adam, welcome to the Wake Up America show. Glad to have you here, bud.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
What's your remarks, the response? Just for context here for myself, like, what would you think, answer what you thought about what he had to say. And then also, if you wouldn't mind, answer, what if I was the mayor of Chicago and I said, well, the reason I hire so many white people is because we're Earth's most generous race. So give me a reaction to his comments, and then if we change this, do not a gender swap, but a race swap, Adam, and thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. And actually, that was the first thing I was thinking of. If this was some Southern Democrat, Dixiecrat, who was saying, well, the reason we hire so many whites is because we're so giving. It's just like, this, for one, he's not a typical Democrat, in my opinion, although he's becoming more typical these days. He is much so of the progressive ilk, the communist ilk. And so these people are unaccountable. And I'm willing to bet the people that he's hiring, either he knows them personally and or they're part of a particular class. They're part of the bourgeoisie black class that exists in America. All right, so they're the college-educated, also progressive friendly or progressives themselves. And they all benefit from this idea, and they use race as a cover-up. So they get to use race as a weapon. How dare you challenge why I'm hiring black people? Don't worry, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm hiring my friends. Like it's that kind of thing. But I do find it very funny how these people act like the EEOC does not exist. So.
Well, speak to that for us, Adam, because probably a lot of people, they don't even think about the EEOC or what it means or how it applies to them. A lot of people, especially young people that get in jobs, they don't know that, when they're young, that they're competing on an unlevel playing field for jobs.
Yeah. We talk about meritocracy, and I believe in meritocracy, but it's like meritocracy is the North Star. But obviously, like, if I'm starting a business and I personally know someone who can do the job well, I don't feel the need to feel the market to find someone better because, that relationship is important too, because we see eye to eye. It's better to work with someone that you're already familiar with than someone that you don't know, right? It's a lot easier. So there are a lot of little like asterisks along the way. Maybe you might be the most knowledgeable, but you don't fit our work environment for whatever reason, right? So there are all different types of reasons as to why someone ends up being that final check mark, but it's personality traits. It's things that they're not born with, that they have no control over. I have no control over that I was born a man and that I was born black, right? But I shouldn't be given advantages because of either. I earned my way through. I feel like the jobs that I was hired for, I was a good fit for, and that's why I got the job. And I would hate for someone to hire me for that reason, which just goes to show anyone who brags about being hired because they are black just tells you how low in the totem pole in quality they actually are.
Wow, Adam, that's pretty strong words, but I think I agree. But if I said that, I would be canceled very quickly. Thankfully, thankfully, I don't have a boss. I am an entrepreneur, so the only boss that I have to worry about are the people who watch my show. And so far, they've been very generous in keeping the show alive now for 3 years. You've been a guest on it, I think, 3 or 4 times since we started. And you're a very entrepreneurial guy yourself. You're the head of the founder of Wrong Speak Publications, and you've got a new book, The Children We Left Behind. You've been a parent for longer than I have, so maybe you can help me with some advice. My little baby girl, she's 10 years old. And we're frequently, my wife and I, having discussions about what discipline will look like in our houses. Last night we saw a movie, or we were watching Mad Men, and one of the characters in the 1960s, he like slaps his child across the face. And Stephanie and I, we instantly started a discussion. Did that ever happen to you? My wife asks, and how would you react in this situation if it was our child, and things like that. In your book, you go into discussions on things like discipline. disciplining your children and the concept of parental selfishness. So give us an overview, if you wouldn't mind. Start with the question of discipline, the questions of discipline, some of the root causes of the problems of discipline and how you deal with discipline if you have some of these problems. Break it down for us.
Well, one of the fundamental issues that I see with discipline is that some people either do none or they do too much, and that either one is a problem. And also, some people start disciplining way too late. Discipline starts as early as possible, right? It doesn't start when they're 12, it's when they're 2, right? When it comes to raising children, it's about building habits, what they're familiar with. Building yourself as a parent, you're the authority figure, so they have to listen to you, right? And reinforcing that there are consequences for what they do, right? And everything is age appropriate. But all of those things revolve around the word discipline, discipleship, to teach. So everything you're doing is to teach them something, right? And if you are, and one of the things I'm going against is hitting children, you're hitting your child, you're teaching them something. So what are you teaching them? Are you teaching them to fear pain? Are you teaching them to fear you? If they're having a problem at school, does hitting them fix that problem that's at school, or does actually talking to them to figure out what that problem is? Because children are reacting to their environments. And so they're not just acting out for zero reason, they're reacting to something. So you need to uncover what that is. And so hitting them may get them to shut up and maybe adjust out of fear, but that also can have residual effects of them having fear rather than addressing the actual issue of the problem. So there are a slew of things, and I don't say that as like a judgmental parent. My son is 19, and I was spanked when I was a kid. And when I saw my son very young, I would pop him, but I never liked it. And it's because I remember when I was a kid, I felt like it was unnecessary. Like, if you're yelling at me, I already feel bad for what I did. And so I just needed you to like talk to me, or at least tell me what I did wrong or something to that effect. And getting hit never helped me at all. It made things worse. And
Can I say that I had the opposite experience, that getting hit was actually a very sobering experience for me, and it was very useful. I found that a good, healthy fear was wise, because I think the way that my father did it, it wasn't over the top, but that fear was a replacement for the fear that I should have had about the repercussions of the consequences of my negative behavior. And the way that I understood the spanking, it was the threat of the spanking was usually enough. But the idea was that there is just like you're supposed to have a fear of God, right? There is such a thing as a healthy fear. And, in my understanding of this one, and I haven't had to spank my daughter, she's 10 months old, so it's not not even a question yet. But when I do think about these things, I ask myself, is it better that she has a little bit of fear of me temporarily until she's old enough to reach the age of reason to realize why she shouldn't mouth off in church, talk back to the pastor, or talk smack to people on the streets in general? Because it seems to me that we've kind of had a more permissive parenting style in recent generations. And when I see them out on TikTok or on Reels and things like that, these youngsters are very disrespectful, Adam. I think I might disagree with your premise. So slap me back here on this one, metaphorically speaking. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, that's the opposite position, is not disciplining their kids, not giving them any repercussions. And that's not what I'm saying at all. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is you do everything else but put your hands on children. And from a religious standpoint, I know people like to say, spare the rod, spoil the child. But there's nowhere in the Bible that violence is an expression of love, right? And that's not a thing. If your daughter was to come to you and say, my boyfriend hits me because he loves me, you'd be like, that's not love. So why is it any different from a parental standpoint, which is a stronger bond that you have with the child as a parent? And so what I'm saying is, of course you discipline your child. You take away their stuff, you banish them from certain things, you yell at them, you do everything else, but except putting your hands on them. And that's what I did with my son. And actually, when I stopped doing that, when I stopped popping him and stuff like that, the times that I would have done that, I just talked to him more. And what happens is because children want to please their parents naturally. And this isn't something you start doing when they're 10. I'm saying this is when you do when they're very young and they want to please their parents. And that disappointment, if for most kids, is enough. And sometimes you got to do a little bit more. So all I'm saying is it doesn't mean that you're a horrible parent for popping your kids. What I'm saying is that there are negative repercussions of it. Sometimes it works out. Some, and you'd say, well, I'm glad that I had that because, well, a lot of people are glad that they had it because that's all they knew.
Right? I have a clip here for this, Adam. If you can hold on just one second. This is just a 10-second clip here.
Daddy, you spanked Mama.
You're darn tootin' I did.
That means you love her.
That's what I've been trying to tell her.
See, I actually believe in maybe, spanking your wife might not be, maybe not an open-handed slap, but I don't know. I mean, would I rather slap my daughter's hand before she can touch the stove or let her touch the stove and find out? I think I'd rather slap her hand away. I mean, isn't this kind of like the principle of the hot stove? I mean, if you've got a child that's about to hurt themselves, then maybe like the sting of slapping their hand away might be a wiser decision than letting them do potentially more damage to themselves. Adam, how do you respond?
The question for me is this: is there a better way? Life is not easy. So these aren't, easy concepts. I'm not saying it was always easy to do this. What I'm saying is, in any given circumstance, you should ask yourself, instead of going into default mode, this is how I was raised, and so I'm going to raise my kids this way, or anything like that. With every generation, we are supposed to examine how we were raised. And let's say 90% of how you were raised was good, but maybe that 10% you should refine. You change that 10%, you question that 10%, and you apply it to your children, and hopefully the next generation does the same thing. So what I'm saying is, the element of hitting children is something that I've seen the after effects way more often, where that frustration of the kid not listening to you after the 10th time or doing something wrong at school and just taking it out on their kids, that stays with them. And that alters your relationship, and it actually has more consequences. And guess what? They're not 10 years old forever. They grow up to be 15, 16, 25, and you're wondering how come they don't have a relationship with me or why they don't respect me. So there are lasting repercussions. So in the same way, hitting a child increases these particular outcomes, but disciplining your child is incredibly important. But you can do that without hitting your children.
Okay, well, I think you make good points there. I guess I'll have to read the book and see if maybe you can convince me, Adam. But we'll call this one a stalemate for now, and then let's move on to another subject, because you also write in your book about this concept of parental selfishness, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on that as well. If you could explain that concept for our audience, and then let's go back and forth.
Yeah, parental selfishness is, and I think this is a cultural element, not just in the United States, but I'm seeing it throughout many of the Western nations, where the parents are putting themselves first and dragging the children along with their decisions. They get to act whimsical. They get to say, if I'm happy, my children will be happy. And that's not how children operate. Children are people pleasers. That's just what it is, and especially when it comes to their parents. So of course they're going to be like, okay, mom, okay, dad. And even if they resist, well, guess what? Mommy and daddy are going to split up anyways. The weaponization of children, where they're using kids in family court against one parent or the other because they're angry with the opposite parent. And so those children become objects instead of actual children that they're supposed to take care of and keep from adult issues, right? So there's a lot of parental selfishness that I'm seeing. Even before the children are born, it's the level of selfishness to not care if this person sticks around or not, to not get married because you just want kids. Like these are elements of what I want supersedes. And guess what? The kids, they're just going to have to deal with it. And the rationalization, you only rationalize things when you know it's not a good thing. If you've been on a diet and you say, well, I shouldn't have this cake, but I've been good this week. It's like, no, you're rationalizing because you know you're not supposed to do it. No one wants to see themselves as a bad parent. So they're going to rationalize all their behavior. I'll put the kids in therapy. They'll be fine, right? You don't want to appear as a bad parent. So of course, you're gonna say all these excuses and be damned the outcomes, because they want to believe that the choices that they're making, every single choice, is the best choice for their children as well as them. And sometimes the best choice is not beneficial for the parent. It's actually the most beneficial for the child. So, I mean, I think that is a massive element that we're dealing with.
Adam, are there any other key insights in the book that you share that might interest our listeners, so that they might be interested in going and buying a copy of your book that you published with Wrong Speak?
That children, well, nearly a quarter of American children are growing up in separate homes from one of their parents, and that this family dynamic is the most vulnerable dynamic for children, which is the highest statistical probability that children will be physically abused and sexually abused. So, there are a lot of monsters that are let into people's homes under the guise of being mom's boyfriend or stepdad, or dad's girlfriend and stepmother. And this particular situation is harming a lot of children. And I've talked to many of these kids, and there's great stepfathers and great stepmothers that are out there. So it's not to say every one of them is like this, but the reality is that there are predators out there who hunt single mothers specifically, who look for a way to get into her life and tell her everything that she wants to know, and will wait a year to gain access to those kids. They will do whatever possible and gain her trust so they can get access to the children. And so that is it's a situation that is not talked about enough, because the victims of these things have a hard time bringing it up. It's a very traumatic element, but I do have a couple stories within the book to highlight this.
What's the easiest way for people, if they want to go right now, to get a copy of your book? Where can they get it? And tell us where we can get a copy.
Yeah, it's available everywhere. They can go on Amazon. They can go on wrongspeak.net. The audiobook is available everywhere. It should be coming out Audible soon, but it is on Spotify and other audiobook platforms. And also the ebook is everywhere.
Okay, there it is. That's Adam Coleman. Adam, thanks for being so generous with your time. And thanks for all you do for speaking out in this country on some of these major issues. I look forward to reading your book and maybe even changing my mind on spanking before my daughter comes of age. So thank you very much, Adam. We appreciate you. Have a great day.
You too. Appreciate it.
Madame Collet, if I were your father, which fortunately I am not, and you made any attempt to handle your own business affairs, I would give you a good spanking. In a business way, of course.
What would you do if you were my secretary?
The same thing.
You're hired.
You're hired. I go to wifely spanking or go to secretarial spanking. Nothing wrong with that. Adult spanking, different question. Guys, welcome back. We're here. We're queer. We're not coming for your children. Just kidding. We're totally normal adults. Nothing strange about the Wake Up America show. Everything totally normal. And you must take us upstairs to get ahead, and you must spank us. Yes. Yes, we must all get a thorough spanking. Name what that's from. Drew Van Runkle, Joni Rankin, Andy Opperman, Dad Bod Baboon, Wild Man, Rare Camellia, and so many other. Entropy Nomad, BB for Liberty, John Rail, Quest Fanning, and so many of our friends over there in the show. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys right back here again tomorrow, Wednesday, Big Breaking Time with the Judge. Wake Up America show is back on the 4 Liberty Network. Exit through the Grift Shop, guys. Get yourself some delicious Founding Flavors coffee. We'll see you tomorrow.
Another downgrade, another shrug. Last week, Moody's downgraded America's credit outlook, again, citing our unsustainable, ballooning, utterly embarrassing national debt. And how did our leaders in Washington respond? With all the urgency of a teenager ignoring their bank app. Finger pointing? Check. Half-hearted outrage? Check. Meaningful action? Don't hold your breath. Let's start with the Republicans, because boy, have they earned it. These are the same people who used to pound podiums over the debt. You remember the speeches. We're bankrupting our grandchildren. We need fiscal responsibility. We have a moral duty to balance the budget. I mean, they practically had the words founding fathers and free markets tattooed on their tongues. But once they had power, they spent like drunk lobbyists at a Pentagon open bar. Trillions in new spending. Defense budgets on steroids. Corporate subsidies dressed up as patriotism. And don't forget the stimulus checks, a bipartisan money cannon blasted into the void. When it was time to act like the adults in the room, the so-called fiscal conservatives were too busy posing for social media and fundraising off the culture war to notice the national debt hit $34 trillion. And Democrats? They've been gleefully writing checks with slogans like equity and climate justice scribbled in the memo line. Their solution to every problem is to spend more and act shocked when the money's gone. They're not even pretending anymore. It's modern monetary theory cosplay at this point. But let's not pretend this is just another partisan failure. This is a systemic rot. A uniparty consensus to kick the can until the can explodes. And while both sides keep lighting matches in the fireworks factory, there's one tiny department that's actually trying to put out the fire, and no one's listening. DOGE has uncovered hundreds of millions in government waste, fraudulent unemployment claims, benefits sent to dead people, fake addresses, payments to literal infants, babies getting checks. And what happens when they report it? Congress yawns. No hearings, no votes, no media circus, no accountability. The swamp just pretends it didn't happen, because actually doing something about waste means going after their own pet programs, their donors, their voter bribes, and that would require integrity, which is in short supply on Capitol Hill. Think about it. We have a debt so large, it's now a national security threat, and the one department tasked with cleaning up the mess is treated like a footnote. Meanwhile, we've got bureaucrats getting bonuses, agencies spending six figures on equity consultants, and Congress voting to send billions overseas while pretending we can't figure out what's draining the Treasury. And Moody's downgrade? It's not the end. It's the warning shot. The interest on our debt is now higher than our defense budget, and soon it'll surpass everything: Social Security, Medicare, you name it. We're not talking about a hypothetical collapse in 2080. We're talking about a debt bomb with a lit fuse that's already hissing. And the worst part? The American people are footing the bill, not just in dollars, but in opportunity. Every borrowed trillion means higher prices, lower wages, and more power handed to unelected bureaucrats and foreign creditors. It means fewer dreams realized, fewer businesses launched, fewer families able to plan for the future. We're taxing the unborn to fund a government that can't even read its own balance sheet. All while the people who caused this crisis go on TV to yell at each other and sell t-shirts. Speaking of which, if you actually want to wear something that doesn't insult your intelligence, head to forlibertyshop.com. We've got gear that says what you're thinking, that liberty isn't free, and neither is pretending $34 trillion in debt isn't a problem. Shirts, mugs, hats, all designed for people who know the real fight isn't left versus right. It's the people versus the parasites. So if you're tired of watching DC spend your future and laugh about it, go grab something that makes a statement. Because they may be bankrupting the country, but you can still stand for what's right and look good doing it. That's forlibertyshop.com, the only place in America where the price tag isn't a lie. See you next time. When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a red coat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with founding flavors. And trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com.